Imagine you order food for dinner, but then the delivery biker is late. 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes. So you start wondering, did he have an accident? Does he have any social protection at all? Any social rights? In this third episode of What's Left, we will explore how the European Union is finally willing to deliver on its social promises. '19th century. The Industrial Revolution. New industries, new sources of energy, new means of transport. The world gets smaller. The rich get richer, while workers are being exploited. Workers start fighting back, sometimes paying with their own lives. They get organized to fight for their rights. The right to form unions, the right to strike, sick leave, paid leave, the 5-day working week, the 8-hour working day, gender rights.
Okay, let's do so.
Workers formed movements, trade unions, and they find their allies in the social democratic family. They took the streets, but later on their fight was also taken to the parliaments. Now with the industrial changes again, it's again necessary to unite, to form alliances and also be the ally of the workers, bring proposals of the workers to the table. If we let everything happen as it goes and just say it's all a free market, it's clear who's paying the price, and that are the ordinary workers.
But what is happening today, in 2021? Today, we are once again living in revolutionary times, turning our society, our economy, and our culture upside down. The social fights of today are very different than the ones that were led in the past centuries. Today we live in a much more digital world, and we have to deal with climate change. These two realities should not unfold at the expense of people. That is why everybody needs to be socially protected.
There is a risk that the digital transformation increases inequality, social exclusion, poverty. It may degrade labor market conditions and job opportunities. And we know that there is a digital gender gap that needs to be tackled. The digital and green transitions are central when building a more resilient and sustainable European Union. But this transition won't be a success if it's not made in a socially positive manner that leaves no one behind.
The European Green Deal is the EU solution to these challenges. The idea is to transform our system in order to win the fight against climate change. But how will this affect us?
We have about a decade, that's what scientists tell us, to change dramatically, or our planet will not be capable to cope with the rhythm in which we are consuming the resources. So the way we are using fresh water, the way we are fishing, the way we are eating, and obviously the way we are using fossil fuels to basically sustain almost all of our way of living. So that has to change. That is why we want not just to use more renewable energy, but to consume less energy, to change the way we transport goods or people around the world. At the same time, we understand fully that it's not just about going into this direction of greening, of decarbonization, but it's also taking in account the consequences on people's lives, on workers' lives, on their jobs. We need to put a red heart, a social dimension into the Green Deal with concrete policies, training people so that they can get the new jobs, the new opportunities that will come.
The social ecological crisis is already happening. Inequalities are rising at rocket speed. The world's richest 1% have more than twice as much wealth as 6.9 billion people, and our planet is in danger. We need to limit global warming by at least 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. So we need to change the economy, and that's what the European Green Deal is all about. But that leaves a few questions hanging. Will workers have to change sectors? And if so, will they be retrained? Will we lose jobs as a result of artificial intelligence and robots? What role is there for social security schemes in this digital world? The reality of today is quite different than it was in the 19th century. So the question is, has the European Union done anything to protect social rights?
Los conservadores en Europa han conseguido
fijar la idea de que la austeridad era la única solución para poder afrontar las crisis económicas. A pesar de esta austeridad, evidentemente hemos tenido pasos adelante. Pongamos como ejemplo la Cumbre Social de Gotemburgo y el Pilar Social Europeo de Derechos Sociales. La socialdemocracia tiene que liderar esta respuesta social. Necesitamos el instrumento de garantía infantil para luchar contra la pobreza infantil, la directiva de salarios mínimos o tantas otras iniciativas teniendo en cuenta la dimensión de género.
For instance, let's get rid of the youth unemployment in the next 10 years. Let's end the difference in pay between men and women. I think our fight should be the fight for social targets, mandatory and legally enforceable.
Social rights touch on many different aspects. For example, youth unemployment, or teleworking and the right to disconnect, or gender pay gap, the fact that men and women are still not paid the same for the same job.
People who regularly work from home are twice as likely to work more than the maximum stipulated working hours. Workers deserve the right to disconnect.
For us, the Youth Guarantee is an important instrument to guarantee social rights for young people. Now it needs to be stronger, with more money. It needs to get to those young people that are mostly in need. And especially we need to be very hard on unpaid internships. We want to ban unpaid internships.
Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, women have been hit harder. As in all crises, women's economical situations risk being harder hit in the long term. This is a battle we have to fight on many fronts for women and for gender equality.
Social rights have a deep impact on what our lives look like. But today we are facing unprecedented changes. How can people continue to be protected when the world is moving so fast? In the beginning of this episode, I told the story of a delivery biker. How can we protect him?
I think it's very clear that we can help him with one solution, and that's our S&D goal. And that's called a reversal of the burden of proof.
Reversing the burden of proof means assuming that the employment relationship between worker and digital platform provides full social and workers' rights. And it is up to the platforms to demonstrate if that's not the case. Because they say flexibility, entrepreneurship, extra income. But what it comes down to is a modern form of slavery. If Uber drivers do not get any customers, they are stuck with the bill for the gas. If Deliveroo bikers have an accident, they will be without sick pay. Some of the richest companies on this planet outsource their business risk onto the workers and onto the taxpayers. To change the game of the gig economy, all platform workers must be considered as employees.
You have this huge transition towards decarbonization, towards a green society, but at the same time to a digital society. We want a fair recovery. That means that those that are polluting have to pay for this recovery. Those that are the big companies that have avoided to pay taxes in the past because they use the loopholes in this and that country, they will have to pay also for this recovery. And if we get those resources and we direct them towards this transition and towards the low-income families, the low-income households, then we are also creating a fairer society.
La cumbre de Oporto se va a celebrar bajo presidencia portuguesa, liderando la idea de la Europa social y con nuestro comisario Nicholas Schmit, que ha puesto un gran empeño y una gran responsabilidad en la labor que tenemos por delante. Esta cumbre tiene que salir una hoja de ruta de la Europa en la que tenemos que avanzar con instrumentos políticos y con una clara agenda para que el Parlamento Europeo pueda seguir impulsando nuestras prioridades.
The Porto Social Summit on the 7th of May 2021 will provide an opportunity for heads of state, NGOs, unions and civil society to put social rights back on top of the EU's agenda.